Yeah, I said it. Thinman is stupid. But like, fun stupid, you know? Early internet never call Sam and Dean at 3 a.m. kind of stupid.
Hello, Sam and Dean?
We serve food here, sir.
Oh, fuck. This episode aired deep into season 9. It's right in the middle of Sam and Dean's terrible big brotherly fallout, and sandwiched between two pretty serious plot episodes. One being Captives, that deals with the fallout of Kevin's unnecessary death, and the other being Blade Runners, which introduces the fabled First Blade. So in that regard, I think having a fluffy and dumb episode probably worked. Now, should that fluffy and dumb episode been a parody about Slender Man that ultimately tried to bite off more than it could chew? Well... I feel like I should say that I'm a pretty big Slender Man fan. Well, not just him, but Creepypasta in general. My early days on the internet were consumed by this stuff. I loved reading the stories, I loved listening to horror creators narrate them, I knew all the plots and characters, and I still enjoy Creepypasta to this day too. It's just not my go-to for horror anymore, and a lot of it hasn't necessarily aged well. Well, except Sonic.exe, that one goes crazy. This episode also had the horrible task of needing to feature the grand return of the Ghostfacers. This is the first time they've appeared since their season 3 episode. But get this, instead of being comic relief, the writers decide to parallel Sam and Dean's current drama, and this is where we get to the fact that I think the episode really struggled. So how does Supernatural handle a creepypasta-inspired storyline, the return of the Ghostfacers themselves, and balance thematic resonance with a wacky concept? Well, to start, we have to talk about Thinman himself. When adapting a character like Slender Man, you have a few directions you can go in. You could just actually create and take the lore and mythos of the character and turn it into an actual Slender Man monster. Instead, Supernatural went in a different, much stupider direction, using this as one of their more famous "The Monster Isn't Real" episodes. And instead, Thinman is a creation, not a deity. This episode really toys with the concept to start though, and I think it's a little admirable. They have a cool cold open with Thinman killing a girl, and I think it's genuinely well done. He's a pretty creepy guy, and I think the claustrophobic feeling when she's in the closet works very well. The episode has some creepy vibes, but it never screamed Slender Man to me. I mean, they're pretty evident from the start that it's not Slender Man, considering that the Thin Man kills the girl with a knife. And I think that's the real failing with the monster, beyond the fact that it is just two guys pretending to be Thin Man. I want to take a look back at an early episode of the show to explain how I think this twist could have worked about Thin Man being a creation rather than an actual entity. Let's talk about Hell House for a moment. Back in season 1, in that episode, it's the first episode with the Ghostfacers, and they investigate a house that's being haunted by a supposed ghost, except the lore keeps changing. Eventually, Sam and Dean learn that it's a tulpa, which is a monster that's fueled by groupthink essentially, and can become whatever it wants. The more people believe in this tulpa, the more real it becomes and harder to kill. One person could think it needs silver bullets to die, and the next, rock salt. It's impossible to know. We learn in this episode that the so-called Thin Man has a fan base. He has lore, it's all over the internet, just like the real Slender Man, and it's spread through forums and fan fiction. I genuinely think this should have been the case for this episode. I don't understand why they went the far more boring route, because this would really give credence to the fact that anything can grow and turn into something monstrous, and I guess they wanted to ground it a little bit with it being two humans that took the concept too far. That's a little close to a real tragedy that happened a few months after the episode, and I think by making an actual monster like a tulpa, the episode would have fit way more with Supernatural's vibes. And it would effectively deliver the same story at the end of the day. Ed, one of the Ghostfacers, created a concept and monster to get Harry, the other Ghostfacer, back into ghost hunting, because he missed them. But it led to something far more dangerous, and the difference is the tulpa, again, would be an actual monster. The core concepts of this episode is fine, but I really don't think the show executes Thin Man very well besides an admittedly cool cold open and some creepy vibes. It's too focused on the twist of it being two humans, and it thinks that's enough that they can get away with. They think this is an episode like Family Remains or The Benders from season 1. But one thing those two episodes did better was just execution of the major twist way better. At the end of the day, the Thin Man just doesn't feel like a villain at all. All it is a narrative device to push the story of two characters forward. That's not always a bad thing, but now we have to talk about that story. So the weird thing about this episode is it wants you to think it's actually meaningful. I don't think this story is bad. In fact, I think it's the one thing that keeps the episode going, but it's not really told that well. The parallels between Sam and Dean and Harry and Ed are anything but subtle. Ed created the Thin Man and dragged Harry away from his wife and comfortable life back into their dumb spirit hunting after everybody quit. This actually mirrors Dean coming to Sam all the way back in season 1. Throughout the episode, all Harry wants to do is catch Thin Man to prove Thin Man is real. And then he learns that Thin Man isn't not just real, but it was all created by Ed so that Ed wouldn't have to be alone anymore. This is like if Dean was lying about their dad being missing just because he missed Sam. It's an interesting idea, but they try and compare it to the modern Sam and Dean drama, and it just doesn't really work that well because of how late on it is. The truth was manipulated, and it removes his friend's agency just so he wouldn't have to be alone. And that sounds familiar because that's exactly what Dean did to Sam. Sam was ready to die, to be at peace, and Dean came in, manipulated him, and had him say yes to a possessed angel, just because he was too stubborn and self-centered to even possibly think about living without Sam. I don't have an issue with the writers doing this parallel. Again, it could have been cool, just laid on way too thick. It doesn't help either that Harry and Ed are throwaway comic relief characters, and bringing them in such a serious and dark way now just felt off. And the tone of the entire episode just felt off. It's not what I wanted out of the episode. I just wanted a funny and wacky Slenderman episode, or I wanted something that was really dark and serious with the character, kind of honoring the potential that I know a character like it can have. The problem with the Ghostfacers is they are built around whimsy, and the whimsy of the character is gone. Without the whimsy, I have no reason to care about Harry or Ed. They're just nothing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the only major point is that Harry and Ed part ways for good, and the show wants it to be some crazy moment where you're like, this is what's going to happen to Sam and Dean. Like it's some premonition. And like, kinda. Again, it's the only real emotional through line the episode can hope to have. And I'm not against developing side characters, but the writing here just didn't do it any favors. The worst part is, this is sort of the resolution arc to Sam and Dean's brotherly beef throughout the back half of season 9. Sure, they still have some friction in later episodes, but it's not nearly as prevalent after this one, and they just sort of drop it. There's no big scene where they apologize or realize they were wrong. It's just a slow move forward toward working united again. And I guess maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it should be more subdued and they should grow normally. But I think it honestly makes the episode feel even more flat that they don't just have an apology session at the end of the episode. It's like they wanted to lay it on too thick with no subtlety, and then they're like, let's actually just do a slow plot line where the characters solve their issues over time. Pick a lane. At the end of the day, Thin Man isn't a terrible episode. I found some new things while writing this video that I enjoyed and appreciated, but more things that frustrate me more than anything. I think if done right, this would have been a really fun episode, and if you added in a tulpa, it would have been really, really cool. Unfortunately, it's not. It's trying to incorporate modern horror tropes and genre, and it becomes a muddled and confusing mess, but ultimately that makes it the perfect example of a season 9 episode. Some ideas here and there, but nothing amounts to anything special, and overall it feels like a nothing burger of wasted potential. At the end of the day, a Slender Man episode of Supernatural was probably always going to be ill-fated. By 2014, the character was moving out of the limelight, and a few months later after this episode, like I said earlier, a tragic event shut the door on the character for basically forever moving forward. It's a lesson on why it's so hard to capitalize on modern trends and ideas, because you never know if it's a modern trend that'll last a lifetime or date your episode in an instant. Were you also a 13-year-old creepypasta kid on the internet, or did you have friends growing up? Let me know down below in the comments, and let me know if you wish Supernatural tackled more creepypasta elements in the show. Maybe a haunted video game cartridge, or what about Smile Dog? If you enjoy these videos, please drop a like and subscribe. It helps the channel out immensely, and if you want behind the scenes content, early videos, and a direct hand in choosing what content gets made, go ahead and check out the Patreon. And remember, Thin Man isn't real, and he can't hurt you. But I am.